The more than 150 self-improvement books I've read have helped me to get lots of wealth, but also taught me life-changing lessons. In the past week's video, I shared the first 5 of them. If you haven't watched that video, I will leave it in the description. But now, let's see other 5 exciting lessons. Number 6. The cost of earning more money. Everything has a price, but not all prices appear on labels. Now, I understand that you want to earn a lot of money, be your own boss, and have a successful business one day, which is completely okay. But what is not okay is to want all these things and jump into doing it without understanding the price you have to pay. Here's what I mean. Imagine I come to you and ask you if you would like to be a professional MMA fighter and fight in the UFC. You probably think that it would be amazing to have fighting skills like those guys and be in a great physical shape. However, after giving it some thought, you're highly likely to decline my offer. The reason is that you understand that it will require a tremendous amount of hard work and a lot of your precious time and probably several serious injuries just to become average. You would decline it because you don't want to spend 5 or 6 hours a day in a gym every day, sometimes even twice a day. You don't want to be dieting and eating tasteless food for most of your life. You don't want to have arguments with your partner for not spending enough time with him or her. You simply don't want to make all these sacrifices. The price to become an MMA fighter is too high and you don't want to pay it. No one would call you crazy or a coward for declining this offer, because most people understand that the cost is too high. This example that I just gave you applies to becoming a business owner and earning a lot of money. It has a high cost becoming a successful business owner. It is like becoming a great boxer, writer, singer, or doctor. Most of us understand that this will take you years of hard work and studying just to become an average doctor. But we don't apply the same logic to earning more money. We expect it to be painless. For example, you wouldn't expect a fat guy with no boxing experience to win a fight against an experienced boxer. But that is what most of us do when it comes to starting a business. Most of us have never started a business or learned about it in school. Most of us come from families who have very poor financial and business skills. We're like that fat guy yet. We expect to start that fight, throw a few punches, and knock out the experienced opponent. This is why most people start a business and then after a few failures give up, blaming the economy or the competition. The truth is that they didn't understand the cost and were not willing to pay for it. If you want to start something, first find out what the cost is and if you're truly willing to pay for it. Understanding the cost helped me to not give up very fast and be comfortable with slow progress. When you know that what you are doing has a high cost, you don't give up after a few failures. When you understand the cost, you realize that you must create imbalance in your life and sacrifice family, friends, and fun time in order to pay that price. Number 7. Get rich young. You might have already seen this picture. This is an old couple on vacation. Unfortunately, they are so tired. They can't even enjoy their boat tour. Don't get me wrong, I'm not making fun of this couple. I'm showing it because their picture served as an important reminder for me throughout the years. Here's what I mean. When I started to read personal finance and investing books, I kept getting this advice. If you save a small amount such as $5 a day and invest it over the long term, you will have over $1 million in 40 years, which is true and absolutely makes sense. But I remember having this strange and conflicting feeling whenever I read such advice. First, I would get excited about the possibility of investing a small amount and having $1 million. But I remember after the brief moment of excitement, I would get upset. I would say to myself, okay, yes, I will have $1 million, but I will be old. Do I want to be wealthy when I'm in a wheelchair? Do I want to go on vacation when I have no energy and fall asleep? I wanted $1 million, but not when I was 70. I wanted a nice car, but not when I was old and I required physical assistance just to sit in the car. Finally, one day, I came across this book called The Millionaire Fastlane, written by MJ DeMarco, and it completely changed my life. This book is about getting rich quickly and retiring early by creating a business, inventing something, or simply creating things that you love. There's so many ways that can bring you a lot of money when you're young. I know when you hear get rich quick, it sounds scammy, but when the author talks about getting rich quick, he doesn't mean getting rich in just a few weeks or months. For example, if you create a business, you might work on it for 5 or 10 years, but once you succeed, you never have to work again in your life. This is what he calls get rich quick. And if you look at it, 10 years is quick compared to investing for 40 years. Even though this is one of my favorite books, it's a book I still read and I always recommend it, one thing I don't like about it is that it kind of makes fun of long-term investing. As I said earlier, creating a business has its cost, and some people are completely happy with their job and don't want the stress and the responsibility of having something big. For those people, having an average salary and investing $5 a day for 40 years might be a good option. I personally do it as well, but I don't rely on it to make me rich one day. I guess it all depends on what you truly want. If you want to retire early and never work in your life again, then check this book out. On the other hand, if you're happy with your job and long-term investing, then stay where you are. But also keep in mind that compound interest does its magic at the end of the period. For example, 90% of Warren Buffett's wealth was accumulated after the age of 50. Warren Buffett's skill is investing. But his secret is not money, it's time. He's been investing since he was just a boy. Number 8. Think big. When I was in the university, I had a classmate who always talked about the importance of being realistic in life. When he saw someone taking a big action or dreaming about some big goals, he would remind them to come back to reality. For example, when some of our classmates talked about going to the United States and studying there, he would quickly say, "Come on, be realistic. You're broke and you can't even introduce yourself in English. How are you going to study there?" It wasn't just with others. He was like that with himself as well. For example, he would say things like, "I know that I will never drive an expensive Mercedes and have $1 million in my bank account." Don't get me wrong. He wasn't a bad guy or anything. Quite the opposite. He was a nice and reliable friend. He was the type of friend that you would go to borrow money on bad days or borrow his jacket for a special event. The only problem, though, is that he didn't allow himself to dream about big things. David Schwartz, the author of the book The Magic of Thinking Big, says that the big thinkers see what is possible, what can be done with their life, not just what their life is at this moment. On the other hand, the small thinkers see only what is currently in front of them and nothing else. A small thinker will look at an old house and say, "This is an old house in a very bad condition, so it will only sell for $50,000. On the other hand, big thinkers will look at the same house and say, "Yes, this is an old house, but I can plant trees around the house, clean up the yard, and do a renovation and sell it for $100,000. Simply put, one sees what is, and another sees what is possible. Most people can't think big. They don't even let themselves dream about big things. I'm not saying that everything will be easy, not at all. Thinking big is just the first step, and there are probably 100 more steps after that. For example, let's say you're now making $1,000 a month and you start setting big goals. So your first big goal is making $10,000 a month. As soon as you set that goal and start thinking big, it will start guiding you to your destination like a GPS. Soon your behavior will change and you will start doing things differently. You'll start reading different books. You'll start watching different movies. You will start watching different videos, and you will start saying no to certain friends. Thinking big will lead you to doing big things, and doing big things leads to having big things. First, you become the big person you want to become. Then, you do the things the big person does. And only then you will have the things the big person has. Most people believe the opposite is true. Let's say, first give me $10,000 a month. Then I'll start doing the things that a person with $10,000 a month income would do. And only then I can become that person. But actually, it doesn't work like that. You have to become the person first. And only then the rest will come. And this can't happen if you don't allow yourself to think big. I have personally learned two important lessons about thinking big. Number one, I found out that many of the big goals are easier to achieve than the small goals. Because when you set big goals, you realize that you can't achieve them by yourself, so you have to involve others. You have to use other people's knowledge and expertise, which makes things much easier to achieve. On the other hand, when you set small goals, you're only thinking about what you can do by yourself. Number two, I realized that the goals I thought were big weren't that big, and the problems I thought were big were not that big either. I was just too small myself. Number 9. Money equals life energy. Vicki Robbins, the author of the book Your Money or Your Life, says that most of us believe that our job is supporting our life, but in reality, the job becomes our entire life itself. Most of us spend much more than 40 hours a week working to earn money. For example, we must take time to dress for our jobs, drive to our jobs, and think about our jobs at work and at home. We must spend our evenings and weekends in mindless forget about our jobs and relax. Almost our entire life is designed around our job, and the reason we work is to earn money. When you look at it this way, you quickly realize that you are selling your life for money. Money equals life energy. When I started to look at money as my life energy, I started to become more aware of how I spent it. Every time I wanted to buy something, I had to ask if it was worth my life energy. I started seeing prices not in dollars or euros, but in hours or weeks of my life. For example, the new phone I wanted to buy was no longer $800, but 1 month of my life spent working in a job that I didn't like. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that this is just forcing yourself to feel guilty about every purchase so that you don't make that purchase. But that's not true. When you see your money as your life energy, you suddenly value it more. And when you value it more, you start spending it on the things that you truly want, instead of spending it on a second pair of shoes that you'll probably wear only once. Here's a question for you. What is the price of your life energy? How much is your every hour truly worth? The traditional way to calculate this is simply to take the amount of net pay and divide it by the number of hours you work. For example, if you work 160 hours per month and your net salary is $500, then we need to divide 500 by 160, and that equals 3.12 per hour. However, it's not that simple. To calculate your real hourly wage, you need to take into account other factors, such as the time and money you use for everything related to your work. Think of all that money you must spend to keep your job, such as transportation costs, the cost of eating outside, the cost of living in an expensive city because that is where your job is, and medical costs because of work-related stress. You need to deduct all those job-related expenses. This is how you'll know what you earn for each hour of your life's energy. Number 10. Create your own luck. The more time passes, the less and less I believe in the power of luck in business. Very often, the thing people call luck is just the result of taking many actions. For example, let's say that you and I are looking for an investment property to buy. I go and check 10 flats, but you check 100. Who do you think is going to be lucky? Of course, you will be luckier, but from outside, it will look like you just came across a great property and bought it. The more actions you take, the better your chances of getting lucky will be. People who take action get luckier because they create their own luck. This lesson encouraged me to try many things and also be comfortable with most of them not working out. I learned that you can be wrong most of the time and still be very successful. For example, if you're a businessman, you can be very successful, but if you're not and keep on trying, at the end, the most important thing will be that you succeed in only one business. Let's get back to Warren Buffett. He has owned shares in more than 400 different companies in his lifetime, but the most significant gains came only from 10 of them. Many large companies understand this reality as well. For example, if you review all the series that Netflix has produced, you'll see that only few of them have had significant success. When you realize of this, you can accept that this is normal for many things to fail or go wrong. Sometimes all you need is just one idea, one book, one sentence, one person, or one video to change your entire life. Others, looking from outside, would think that you just got lucky and met that one person who helped you to succeed. But what they don't know is that you contacted probably over 50 people in order to come across that one person. So you created your own luck. This was the last lesson, but I have one more bonus lesson as a conclusion to everything we've talked about in this video. At the beginning of the video, I said that I started reading a lot of books about how to make a living. And I said that I started reading a lot of books because I wanted to earn more money. But once I started the journey, I realized that it has very little to do with money. It goes way deeper than that. For example, once you start working 15 hours a day to earn more money, you soon realize that you are sitting in your room the whole day and your body and brain are awakening. So you start exercising regularly. And once you start exercising, you realize that you must also fix your diet and sleep. You can't eat junk food all the time and go to bed late at the same time and also keep working 15 hours a day. And one day you come home from the gym and look at the room and say, I can't believe I live and work in this mess. So you start keeping your room clean and organized. Things start to improve, but for some reason you're still negative and unhappy. This is the moment you start paying more attention to the voice in your head that never shuts up. So you start learning about meditation and mindfulness. And once you start doing that, you start learning about controlling that crazy roommate that lives in your head. You used to make fun of people who talked about spirituality and meditation, but now you meditate yourself. You learn how to control yourself and your emotions. You used to get angry and pissed over every single thing someone said or did, but now you just let it go. You acquire new habits and quit the bad ones like smoking. Now that you no longer smoke, you can also stop hanging out with certain friends. And pretty soon you start to walk and talk differently. You become more self-confident and stop wearing and fitting large shirts and jeans like an 11-year-old teenager. You start dressing well because you understand how important the first impression is in communication when meeting new business partners. Years pass and you keep improving, and one day you turn back and realize that you have achieved your financial goal. But the person who is standing over the finish line is no longer the same. You are no longer the same. You have become a different person, both mentally and physically. You have gone through a complete personal transformation. This is the moment you realize that what you have achieved is much more important than money. Actually, it has very little to do with money. And this is it for this video. Subscribe if you liked it, and if you want to improve your relationship with money, I suggest you to watch the video coming up in your screen. And remember, with reading and education, life is always so much better.